Bonjour, everyone. Hello, my name is Joseph Lennon. You're all very welcome. I have the privilege to be the Emily C. Riley Director of the Center for Irish Studies here on campus. As most of you know, but not everyone, Irish Augustinians from Dublin and Carlow founded Villanova College in 1842 and soon moved out here following anti-immigration riots of 1844. Villanova has sponsored Irish runners for nearly a century and taught Irish studies since 1979. Today we offer courses in 8 disciplines and have 6 study or intern abroad programs across Ireland and Northern Ireland. Our center, however, is not focused only on the past, and events such as today's help us envision a new future. We're privileged to have this delegation from Ireland's Northwest City region to Villanova. I look forward to hearing from the Mayor of Derry, Lilian Seenoi-Barr, who is helping break age-old binaries, and to the Cathaoirleach of Donegal City Council, Niamh Kennedy, a longtime advocate for women's voices across Donegal. You're welcome. You're all very welcome, especially in these days as you discuss the roles of women in politics and peace building, as well as cross-border cooperation. I'd like to thank everyone in the center, particularly Danielle Redden, and everyone from the Irish American Business Chamber and Network for making today's events possible, particularly Alana Barry-McCloskey. And the president of the chamber, Lisa Maloney, to whom I'm now going to invite up. Lisa is a graduate of our law school. We're very proud to have her back, and a lifelong advocate of Irish and Irish American culture here in Philadelphia. So please give me a round. Welcome, Lisa. And Villanova back.
So thank you, and welcome mayors. And John McLaughlin, Chief Executive of Donegal County Council, John Helpy, Chief Executive of Derry City and Strabane District Council, and the entire delegation. Would you mind just raising your hand so people can identify the delegation that's here today? Thank you. You're all very welcome to Philadelphia and to Villanova. So Ireland's Northwest City region is a cross-border collaboration between Donegal County Council and Derry City and Strabane District Council. The Northwest Strategic Growth Partnership, jointly led by both councils, is responsible for driving forward economic, environmental, and social prosperity in their region. This partnership, comprising of senior representatives across all government departments from Ireland and Northern Ireland, is the first of its kind on the island and was set up with the aim of bringing real and positive benefits for Ireland's Northwest City region. Both mayors were newly elected in 2024, and notably in 2024, the government of Northern Ireland has been restored after a 2-year hiatus over concerns about post-Brexit trade arrangements. Our moderator, you're going to hear a lot more about all of this now coming up. Our moderator today is Dr. Cera Murtagh. She will introduce each of the mayors and begin our fireside chat. So please, welcome, Dr. Cera.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you, Joseph. And I'd like to add my welcome, Kate Mule Falcha, to everybody here. It's great to see so many students and members of the Irish American Business Chamber and Network and of the Irish Studies community. I'd also like to echo my thanks to everyone involved in organising the event, and of course, huge welcome to our guests. I'd like to add my thanks to everybody involved, particularly Alana Barry, Fiona McLaughlin, Kirsten Ludi, and Danielle Redden. So I'm delighted to introduce Councillor Lilian Seenoi-Barr of Derry City and Strabane District Council, and Councillor Niamh Kennedy, Cathaoirleach, or Chairperson of Donegal County Council. Lilian Seenoi-Barr was installed as Mayor of Derry City and Strabane in June of this year. She's been a council member of Derry for Foyleside since 2021 with the Social Democratic and Labour Party, the SDLP. Prior to entering formal politics, she had a long history of working for human rights, minority rights, and racial, gender, and other types of equality in the non-profit sector and at the grassroots community level. Niamh Kennedy came to Derry in 2010 as a refugee from her native Narok in southern Kenya. And her experience as a refugee in Northern Ireland led her to set up her own charity, the Northwest Migrants Forum, in 2012. She was also involved in organising the June 2020 Black Lives Matter protests in Guildhall Square in Derry. In Kenya, she was heavily involved in advocacy and activism, particularly helping women and girls from the Maasai tribe, challenging traditional tribal practices, including early marriage. Councillor Niamh Kennedy was elected as the Cathaoirleach or chairperson of Donegal County Council also in June this year as an independent. She was first elected to Donegal County Council in 2014, and before entering the world of politics, she was heavily involved in local industry and in the local economy. She previously worked in the fishing industry, a key sector in that part of the country, and she has a background in business and management. She is herself a small business owner and director, and so she has first-hand experience and a deep interest in the development and promotion of local industry. She is a former member of Killybegs Community Council, where she was actively involved in all aspects of community life in that part of the county, that part of Donegal. Indeed, she chaired the liaison committee which successfully prevented the downgrading of Killybegs Community Hospital. There's plenty more I could say about both mayors' experience, but I'll leave it at that to give us time for discussion, and I'm sure more about their experience will come out in our conversation. So I'd like to welcome them both here to join me for a fireside chat. Welcome. How are you both doing?
Good.
That's great. How's your trip been so far?
Not too bad, no. Very enjoyable. Yes.
Great. It's great to have you here on campus. So both Niamh Kennedy-Barr and Cathaoirleach Kennedy are now at the forefront of cross-border cooperation in the Northwest City region. So they're going to talk to us a little bit today about peace building and cross-border cooperation in Ireland post-Brexit, the future of Ireland and of the region, and about women's leadership in all of that. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you both today. So to start off, Cathaoirleach Kennedy and Niamh Kennedy-Barr, you both had a very varied experience prior to entering politics. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what inspired you or motivated you to get into politics in the first place.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I suppose I was a young mother with three children, living and born in Killybegs and all involved in the fishing industry. My father would have been involved in boat building and in fishing, and so we all kind of followed that. My husband was involved in fishing and brothers all involved, so it was kind of very much a fishing port in town, and a very, very busy town. But it was very wealthy, but it didn't have anything for the community in it. It was never a community town at all. It was extremely heavily industrial. And so I first got involved when we needed to get a playground for our children, and I was just devastated at the fact that we couldn't even find a space in town that, as I said, was full of sheds, full of buildings for fish, but nothing for our children to play in. So it took a long time to get there, but we set up a committee and we worked on it and joined a couple of different councils and different committee groups and advocated for a playground, raised the money through Donegal County Council, worked very closely with Donegal County Council before I was ever a councillor, and started out with that. So I was working as a health and safety manager and administration manager in a fish factory, wouldn't you know, but it was a pretty big company, and it was very, very busy. And as time went on, I was more and more tending to go with community work rather than the heavy industry and the fishing industry. So as much as I respected it and loved it and everything else, I had more of a fondness for where I grew up and a sense of place and how I wanted to achieve and make things better for the community that we lived in. So in 2014, someone came into my workplace one day and asked me, would I be interested in running for local government? And I was just what, me? Why? I said, you're doing so much, why don't you try? And I thought, well, okay. So I went to a couple of meetings with different political groups to see what was the outcome. And I knew that if I was going to go with a political party, it was going to take a long time to get established. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to run as an independent. And it was the best move I ever made. And I went for the election in 14. I left work in January and was elected in May of 14. So it was a whirlwind, but it was so satisfaction. I mean, just it's been great. Really enjoying it. Yeah.
Lovely to hear, yeah. So very much that kind of pathway through grassroots.
Yeah,
community work.
absolutely. So we would have went with, like, there's a lot of other projects was done since, obviously. You know, small things that mean a lot to small communities, like tiny towns groups, like Pride of Place awards. Like we developed a marina in town. There was a lot of work went into that. There was a lot of arguing over that side of things. But that has completely transformed the town now to make it into something that is just more friendly, more touristy, the town is developing time and time on. It's just a much nicer place to live and the community love it. And not only that, now we're focused, obviously since I joined the council, it's not just about the one town, it's about my whole area. And so with the development of Donegal Bay to encourage people to come to stay in the area longer, with a small business trying to develop tourism, and it's an area that wouldn't have been very touristy before, but now it's changing and it's really good to see.
And yeah, same question to yourself.
It's actually really similar. Obviously, I'm not born in Ireland or Northern Ireland. I was born in Kenya, and you've given a really good brief about my life. And I moved to Derry in 2010, so it was unheard of even to think that you will get into politics. But I started with grassroots work. I'm an activist, a community activist and a community advocate. And my work was more involved in capacity building and empowering the minoritized communities and representation within the Derry City and Strabane district area. But to get into politics actually began in 2015 when I joined a political party. I chose the SDLP, Social Democratic Labour Party, because of its values, which aligns straight with my values of social justice. And then I was motivated by individuals. In 2019, I was welcomed by the leader of the party asking me to run for elections. And I first of all thought he was having a laugh. You know, how could you ask me to run for election? How is that possible? Who's going to vote for me? And then I ran for election in May 2019, and I did not win. But I got 777 first preference votes. So 777 people had faith in me and really wanted to get me into politics to represent them. And then in 2021, I was co-opted. We have a different system in Northern Ireland. If somebody resigns from active politics, your political party will co-opt you. So I got all the votes from the members to be co-opted. And then I got the public approval in 2023. So it was really interesting at that time because I kind of built that confidence that actually people are interested in my values, they are interested in things that I want to do for the community. But to really get to that position, it wasn't easy. I have to be honest, it wasn't easy because you will get a lot of challenges. First, people would think, oh, you're not born in Ireland, what do you know much about here? How would you really deliver for me as a person? So getting to connect with the community, but really getting to those doors and speaking to people is what gave them the confidence. And for me to build that confidence, it required also my political party to support me in that aspect. But it's been a very interesting journey. I can't believe mostly that I am in politics in Northern Ireland in the first place, being the first person ever from Black community to get into politics. But I think it's something that I have learned that it's not for a specific group of people. It's for anyone who wants to deliver for the community and anyone who wants to tackle inequalities or follow their passion of looking after their own community. And there is now my community.
Lovely. Thank you, Seenoi-Barr. So really interesting to hear two very different pathways in many ways, but a lot of parallels in terms of kind of being drawn into politics through community grassroots work and through kind of really responding to need that you saw in front of you in your community, and the gradual process that took then. You both rose to your positions of leadership earlier this year, in June of this year, and both made history in the process. Mayor Seenoi-Barr, you became the first Black mayor in Northern Ireland, and you had become the first Black elected representative in Northern Ireland in 2023. Cathaoirleach Kennedy, you were the first independent woman councillor to be elected as Cathaoirleach or chairperson, and only the fourth woman chairperson of Donegal County Council in its 125-year history. And you're still, I believe, one of only 3 women out of 37 councillors in Donegal. So I know that getting more women and people from other underrepresented groups, including young people, people from migrant communities, people of lower income groups, that's something that you're into politics, that's something that you're both very passionate about. What do you think are some of the key things that we need to do to make that pathway for those underrepresented groups into politics easier?
I think it's accessibility. It's very difficult for young people, for women from minoritized communities and people with disabilities to really get into politics. There's a lot of barriers. For example, social media. That's one that if you are of faint-hearted, it is very difficult to get into politics because of social media. And if you love social media like myself, then sometimes you will attract some unnecessary comments from people. But we have to make it accessible to women by tackling those social media abuse, but also mentoring. We really need role models, particularly from underrepresented communities. I think it is so important to be inspired by someone. There's a saying, you cannot be what you can't see. So people need to see themselves in politics to believe that they can be politicians, they can lead, and that's key in terms of opening up to society. But I think also political parties will need to be more proactive in identifying the gaps within their own community, who is not in the room. And I think that is, for me, why I was really inspired by the SDLP, because they came to me, they did not wait for me to go and join, they came to me and say, we want you to be part of our political party and a part of our movement to build a new Ireland. And that really inspired me because I was welcomed, I saw that I was needed to be part of that movement. So I think it's about political parties being proactive and really showing people that we want to be an inclusive society and we want you to be on the table to deliver for your community.
And I think following on from that too, there's so many women and young women that are working in so many different parts of the community that are the drivers. They really are, and you see it everywhere you turn, but they're not coming forward. And I sometimes feel that maybe they don't have the confidence or the encouragement to do so. And I think it's very important that we bring people with us. We don't dictate, but we bring them along on a journey and share our experiences with them. And be able to show young people that, this is a really good thing to do, because how is your bins lifted? How is your rates paid? Why are they paid? Have we got a lovely public realm here? I mean, where did the money come from? The understanding of a lot of young people, and indeed older people, is, sure, it's just there. It was always there. But it's trying to learn how to develop, the skill set that we need to encourage people to do it and to get people out and to experience, just to experience the whole sector. The whole local government sector is huge, and there's so much more to it nowadays than there would have been. It's not all about fixing potholes and repairing roads and cutting hedges and building houses. It's so much more nowadays, and it's very rewarding. There's so many different sectors in it. There's so many different policies and groups, specific policy groups that cover from economic development through to tourism, to our blue economy, to our, anything to do with engineering. We try to help with that with the LYIT, the ATU it is now. So there's a huge range of things that we can do, and there is so much more for women to get involved in, and for young people to get involved in, and indeed people of a minority.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the solutions, also some of the barriers to people entering politics today, particularly women, young people and other underrepresented groups. In the current age of social media and political polarisation, that can be like a daunting sphere to enter into. So reflecting on your experience, is there anything that you would say to people, particularly maybe young people and people from other underrepresented groups, to encourage them to get into politics, and any maybe particular advice you would give from your experience?
Well, I would safely say, I mean, little did I ever think that I would be sitting here in front of all of you people, wearing a chain and be the first citizen of Donegal County Council. Ever. It was just not going to, it was never in my mind. I was a mother, a working mother, hard working, always going, and never would have thought for a minute that I would be here today doing this. So I'm honoured to be here, and I would so encourage so many young people and people, just step out of your comfort zone and take that leap of faith, just do it. And okay, if you get knocked back, get up, do it again. If you want to do something, do it. And if you have a talent, use your talent, because that's where you're going to find you're going to be nurtured, and you're going to love everything you do. So that's what I'd say.
And just to follow up on that, politics is for everyone. There's no specific class or individual who needs to occupy that space. It's for everyone. And at the moment, I actually think and believe that young people are the leaders more than those of us who are from different decades. And it's really important that you follow your passion. And if you have a talent and you want to share that, there is no better place to do it than in leadership positions, because you can really make a real impact. And so just do it. Look at me, Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council. Sometimes I feel like pinching myself to see if it is real, because it could be not real, but it is possible. And it is when you have people who believe in you, but you must start by believing in yourself. And that's the best way to get into politics. So I would just encourage all of you, don't look at it as the divisiveness or the polarization. Look at it as a way of transforming your community, transforming your environment, and really adding into something that is lacking within our society, and everyone has something to give to their community. And how better to do that in leadership, where you can make decisions and see the real impact that you can make.
That we have a lot of students who are probably have an interest in pursuing politics, so that's really encouraging for them to do. So one of the reasons that you're here in the US is to promote the Northwest City region, as Lisa mentioned. We're now 26 years on from the Good Friday Agreement, the peace agreement that followed some 30 years of armed conflict in Northern Ireland. And cross-border cooperation, so cooperation between North and South, between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland in terms of the economy, politics, and social, cultural cooperation. That was a core plank of that agreement. Your region, of course, is a key border area. Donegal situated in the south or in the Republic of Ireland, and Derry situated in the north and in Northern Ireland. So you've very much been at the forefront of that work. And peace, as we know, is a process. It's not an event. It's not something that was sadly just done and with a line drawn under it in 1998. It's still ongoing. Brexit, Britain's withdrawal from the European Union, presented a major challenge to that process and to stability in Northern Irish politics, as we heard from Lisa. Indeed, the power sharing government in Belfast was established earlier this year, as we heard. So can you tell us a little bit about what that cross-border cooperation looks like in 2024, post-Brexit? And I believe Brexit has, of course, presented challenges, but interestingly, some opportunities as well.
Yeah, I suppose we've promoted ourselves now as a region, and we represent about 350,000 people. which is substantial for the area. We're the 4th largest region now in the island of Ireland by population. So it's something that's not to be sniffed at, and it's something that we need to be working on with our governments to say, look, you know, you stand up and take notice, because we are here and we're stronger than ever. And the reason why is because we have that collaboration and we work well together, and we have so much of the shared island. We've got projects, we've got funding coming from peace, we've got obviously Brexit, but Brexit certainly had its challenges, and certainly the UK, you know, will see probably a decline over a wee while with Brexit. But in saying that, I can say that we have that joint currency, that travel is still free between us. I think the last time in 2017 there was something like, what was it, 5,000 was it people? 7,849 people travelled from Burnfoot into Derry on a daily basis over and back. So we take it as natural. I mean, it's just like jumping into your car and heading over the road. That cross-border thing is all the time. So we've got a load of people that work in Northern Ireland and live in Southern Ireland, and vice versa. So we have that great communication there. And then obviously then we have the quality of life that is second to none. We're very blessed. And Derry being the city of culture, and it's fantastic. And then Letterkenny and Donegal being really great for the tourism side of things. And obviously we'll be investing in our blue economy, and you know, investing in innovation, and that's what we want to do. And that collaboration between the two sides has strengthened us, and I think it's great that we're here as a group, and we will continue to do that into the future.
Absolutely. I think just to follow on that, cooperation for us is intentional. It's not something that we have waited for it to happen in isolation. And I have to pay homage to all our council officers, because they work harder. We are the face, but they really are the ones who make things happen within our council and within the city and region. I think we see ourselves as the drivers of our economy. And if we want to improve people's lives, we have to work together to make the place thrive itself. Now, has anybody ever been to Derry here? So we have a few people who have been in Derry here. So most of you may not know how it looks like. You hear cross-border, you might imagine there is a border. There is no border at all. So for you to be able to see a border is the markings on the road, or when your phone says welcome to Ireland, when your house is maybe 3 minutes away from that border and you're in the north and still sitting and says welcome to Ireland. There is absolutely no border. So the two jurisdictions are more constitutional than in real life. So that moving around from its quite seamless. We have within our own council so many people who live in Donegal and are working there, and vice versa. Now, have you ever heard of Derry Girls?
Yeah.
You have heard of the Derry Girls. So the Derry Girls have already transformed our city and district. So we have the biggest Halloween party. Just a few weeks ago, we had 700 community groups that took part in the parade. Some of them were from Donegal. You know, they're part of that parade. And that's why it is intentional for us to make sure that we are similarly working together and coming here together as two mayors and all our officers around here. It's showing that intention that we really are a city and region, not two different jurisdictions.
Yeah, and just to say, like, I would be from Donegal, but I would have went to college in Derry. All my children went to college in Derry, and when I went to Belfast then afterwards. But it just shows that it was always there. The education side was always there, and it was great. It was a great choice, and it's been always very, very useful to know that. And there's a great freedom between it, believe it or not. And people think, oh, you know, to Derry and North and whatever. But no, it's great. It's just different, and it's just different culture. But at the same time, we've got so many shared experiences. And the Derry girls, I have to laugh, because one of the Derry girls reminds me of a girl that I shared a flat with. She was just so like her. She was just the same, the hair. What was Michelle. But she really was. She was some character, and I tell you, we got into some very, very strange positions at times. There was a few cross-border.
I need to mention about the Shared Island Unit and the Shared Island Fund that we are benefiting a lot in the north of Ireland. We also had a city deal which will transform our city and region, through science and innovation and technology. So we're very confident working together as a region because we see the benefits and we see the future that we aspire to have, that we have to work in cooperation.
Yeah, so it's clearly a very special region, a very distinctive region, and so it sounds like a lot of the cooperation is natural, has been happening for a long time, but you are also very intentional about it and have really promoted it, and it's taken on something of a new life in recent years.
Yeah, between our trade missions and between the funding for infrastructure, for road network, for trying to get forward for rail. Not that there's any rail in Donegal, we'll not see it for quite a while, but hopefully we might see it in Letterkenny at some stage going through into the north, but it's fantastic. But yeah, between that and our tourism and the links that we have there, we've got a really great place to come to visit, to work and to play.
Yeah.
Just to take that, the Northwest Atlantic Way, starts in Derry,
right, yeah.
stops in Derry, right?
Not yet. We'll get there.
Work in progress. And speaking of Derry girls, the Northwest has always had a very rich cultural tradition in terms of music, literature, and the creative arts more broadly. People like Seamus Heaney, Frank McGuinness, Mairead Nawini, Rory Gallagher, of course, Daniel. And yeah, of course, the worldwide recognition of Lisa McGee's Derry Girls. And what role do you think culture plays in supporting peace and developing the region?
I think culture is really important, and one thing I'm very proud of in my city, we actually thrive through that. We are a city of music. We have the jazz festival, and everybody participates in it, which means it grows our economy, it puts money into people's pockets, and that all maintains stability and peace. I think the fact that we don't have a border, it means people can access those different cultures between Donegal and Derry. But I think one of the most important things is the fact that we are also, again, intentional when it comes to promoting our own cultural diversity within the border areas. We have a lot of peace funding that really looks at our culture. Peace Plus funding right now has been most of the groups are very successful in providing developing and delivering programs that look into culture and diversity, music, arts, innovation. We promote all that together, and we had the City of Culture in 2013, and building with on that also. We've got a good legacy, but we need to work even more to me, but I think it is something that we are very proud of, again, in just maintaining that and building on it.
And you've got Alton, and you've got Clonard.
I know there's too many to mention.
I know,
yeah.
this is just amazing, and that Irish, the heritage is just fantastic, and it's so enjoyable. And then we'd have the likes of Anne Green and Theatre and the Regional Cultural Centre, and obviously then the Abbey Centre and the Allingham Arts Festival is taking place, the Rory Gallagher Festival. We've had so many links, and it's just been terrific, and everybody, it's the one thing I think that age doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter. Once you've got the music and the dance, it doesn't matter who you're dancing with or what age you are. We're all the same, we're all the one, and that's really, really important to all of us. Yeah.
We had an event here recently about social movements in post-conflict societies, and one of the speakers from Bosnia actually made that point that during the war, music was the one thing that kind of brought people together, and that people really lived for. So really interesting the role that culture plays in peace too. And speaking of peace building, we know that women have always played a huge role, been at the core really of peace building in Northern Ireland, from those working in grassroots community organisations to people like Monica McWilliams and Brona Hines and others in the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition who played really a seminal role in the peace talks and the Good Friday Agreement itself. And we see this in other conflict zones as well. As two women mayors, do you see your work on cross-border cooperation as kind of building on the legacy of women in peace building in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, I think so. I certainly see that. I think women, knowing the story of Northern Ireland, which I learn every day is something new. Women were the backbone of that economy. During the Troubles, it was women who were working in the factories and supporting the economy, but even with peace, we've got the Women's Coalition.
Let's go.
It started in terms of making sure they have their voices there. But I think for me, is looking at it as no one should be left behind, and the voices of women are required in politics and in peace building, and we have to continue with that legacy and even ensure that we have more women who are recognized, because when you hear about peace building in Ireland, you just hear more about the men. For example, within my own party, we'll talk about John Hume, who is the architect of the peace, the Good Friday Agreement, and then we'll talk about Pat Hume, who played a key role in ensuring that John was doing his work. But really, it is now that the role of Pat Hume is being amplified when she is no longer with us. So I think it is important that we recognize that women played a critical role in bringing peace and stability. But that is our role now as the women of today, to ensure that they are not forgotten, but we continue with the good work that they were doing.
Yeah, exactly, and just to continue to do that and to work together. And I think the most important thing is dialogue. Keep the communications open. We'll all have differences, we'll all have misunderstandings, but I think that if we can work together and just talk it through, and bring people along with us, then we're on the right track, and that's the way to go.
I have to say I'm very proud of the North. Right now we have about 5 women who are in leadership, our First Minister, Deputy First Minister, 2 junior ministers, the Justice Minister. They are all women. So it shows that there is that momentum. We're still lacking behind. I think we have 38% of women in leadership. 35% of women
in the assembly.
in the assembly. But it's we can see more girls now wanting to get involved, and we just need to deal with the challenges and the barriers, but having those 2 ladies up there working day in, day out, really to maintain our peace and stability, but to grow the economy, ensure that we are moving. It's so inspiring for all of us women in leadership right now, and women are very good at putting political ideologies aside and just getting on with work, and that's what I love about it at the moment. So yeah, we're enjoying it.
We're just going through an election at the moment. We're just due one now, and election date's the 29th, so I would be interested to see how many women actually get elected. But
in the Republic of Ireland as well. There's
Interesting.
been a lot of progress in recent years, but we're still a long way off parity, about 23%, I believe. So, and this is of course the first year with the 40% quota.
Yes.
So opening the discussion out a little bit, broadening out just before we open up to the audience, and to think about Ireland's future. So Brexit, of course, has opened up a renewed debate about Ireland's future. We've had the Shared Island initiative from the Irish government. What opportunities do you think that debate opens up for the Northwest region, and what role maybe do you see the region playing in Ireland's future?
Well, I subscribe in the school of thought that Ireland has to be one, and Ireland has to be, we have to end the invisible border in Ireland, but I think that is a decision for the people of Ireland, and for now, we're gonna have to work as one. So the Shared Island Unit is leading on that. the investment that we have for our A5 is leading on that. The Irish government has invested even in our Ulster University expansion, for example, the education system, the approach we have where we are working in Donegal. The fact that we are focusing on a city and region at the moment is just showing the kind of the direction of travel that we want to be working as one island rather than being in two jurisdictions. So the focus for us right now is really unite our people and talk through dialogue, how do we change the constitutional makeup of Ireland if we want to have a better future. It is up to us as politicians to show the people that it is possible to have a better life if we are a united Ireland. And that's why the approach of a shared island and looking at growing our economy, uniting people is a more better approach for us in that aspect. So we're looking forward to a day where we don't have to talk about two jurisdictions. That's what we want to do, and that's why in my political party we have a new island commission really looking at dialogue, speaking to the people to see, imagine a different type of society and how does that look like. But for now, we need to focus on uniting our people and really just getting people out of poverty and thriving in our own environment.
Yeah, it's like you find a lot of investors will be very, very interested to come around to the Northwest City region because you've got the best of both worlds and that that dual currency, that best of both sides of the border, even though it's an invisible border as we say, but certainly for inward investment. It's very, very appetising to a lot of companies throughout Europe. So we are both Brexit and we're both UK and Euro, but it's a very good combination to have.
Yeah,
So
you're in
it
a real
works well.
special position there, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ireland, of course, has become an increasingly diverse place over the last 30 years and has seen great benefits from that. Looking ahead, what work do you think still needs to be done to make Ireland, and including the Northwest, as inclusive as possible and kind of building on that idea of a shared future for all, shared island for all?
It's a very interesting question. A very, very big question. What do we need to do? I think we just need to believe that diversity is good for all of us. We are still not as diverse as we wish to be. In the north, we have 1% of the community is from a actually I don't even. It's at 0.3% population is from a minoritized background, people who are not born in Ireland or in the UK. And there are specific challenges, quite many challenges that we experience there. For example, you all know about the big R word, racism. It exists everywhere in society, but we're working through that. We have a more welcoming society. I have to say, I am so proud of my city and district because they produced the first ever Black person in the whole of Northern Ireland as their leader. That shows acceptance. It shows that we are embracing difference and we treasure that diverse and inclusive society, but we are still so much far away to be a full inclusive society. So we need to build on our employment. We need to move away from the two traditions of the unionist and nationalist community and see one community and ensure that all those gaps are closed in terms of employability, that everyone can access a good quality job regardless of their background. Our education system, I think it needs to change completely. I think we need to have inclusive education. While we try to have integrated education, I think integrated schools, I think inclusive education, talking about our histories, talking about our traditions, and talking about our diversity, it's so important to be able to become a full inclusive society. But I think we are not unique. We have, those challenges are everywhere in the world, and it's something that we have to be intentional. Just that we do, when you go to a room and you realize that you all look alike, and there are people within your community who don't look like you need to start asking questions. And that is why it's so important to have allies where we can work together to say, no, we need everybody's voice on this table. That's how we will achieve inclusion.
We work very closely with our youth councils, and we would be very much involved with local community and development committees, and part of that would be public participation networks, where we would have people from all backgrounds coming into our meetings and then to understand the goings on of the council and to get their input into, with their views and what they feel has been neglected, that there's not enough of this or that, and to be able to work with them. And Letterkenny area probably has a lot more people now that has come in from Ukraine, obviously with the war and everything as well. So there's an awful lot of people that have to be integrated into our society, and in the main they are most welcomed. There are obviously issues, and people will be narrow-minded at times, and they'll have their own problems. But I think we've become very, very good at acceptance and of acknowledging the differences that we have, and it's not just about religion or skin colour, or politics. It's just we're all on this earth to do the one thing, and let's all get on with each other and work, because at the end of the day, what we need a shelter, we need food, we need money to survive, and we need to rear our children and to be in harmony, and I think that's what we all want to see.
So I'm just going to ask a question to John Kelpie and John McLaughlin, Chief Executives of Derry City and Strabane District Council and Donegal County Council, who we have here with us. So before we go to the rest of the audience, what does the future of Ireland's Northwest City region look like to you in terms of the next stages of growth and development?
Yeah, no, I think I'm John McLaughlin, and this is John Kelpie standing. Pick up for counterparts, yeah. Yeah, no, I think very good flow with the conversation with both the Mayor and Cathaoirleach and yourself, and a lot of background set out. But I'm thinking to myself, and I might just acknowledge when we're on American soil, American companies quite good in Donegal and Derry, I'd say, during the last 20-30 years in terms of foreign direct investment. That's helped us a bit in terms of providing those much needed jobs and maybe improved types of jobs in terms of payment and replacement of additional manufacturing jobs in the region that are lower paying. And that's helped give us, and we've probably built on that and taken it to the next step. And it's a two-way street now and innovation and so on. So I think it's great to see that, and it's worked well for us. I think the future, but building on what the two mayors said, is for our region to actually have its rightful place on the island, the combined island of Ireland. Most people would be familiar with Dublin, the capital city, and all the jobs go there and all that, and we complain. But yet no, we are progressing, and we talked about it, I think it was earlier, about the broadband, the digital connectivity made a difference for us. That we're seen as an island off Europe, the north and the northwest. But with the digital connectivity, you can be anywhere in the world. We have fast broadband. Irish government said they'll have it fibre to every house, and that's about to finish up now. Probably nowhere else in the world is that. So we'll have every home, every child knows where you live with that fast connection, and you can work and have any job. And I think it starts with our early school system. You'll believe in themselves, and you can create the children. They're born today to grow into that. 20 years time they'll take those jobs. So we're looking to be. We talk about being a net contributor to the island of Ireland, and that we get the infrastructure that was probably held back from us over the generations, possibly because of the border and not recognised as a place to maybe do the equality of investment. That's now coming. I think in the last maybe 10 years we see that starting to come towards us. Niamh talked about the railway. That'll come. Mightn't come soon enough for us, but it's an indication we're as important as other places. That'll bring the rest, the quality of life, the jobs, the education, all those will flow. And that's all we're looking for, that equal platform. And then the rest, we're over the generations, we were innovative locally without knowing what that meant over many, many years. The background that people grew up with, they had to be innovative to survive and last. And that's not unique, but countries, a lot of countries have that because that's in your nature. And you talk about the engineering and Killybegs and that. People did those things without maybe having a brand on it, just did it in order to survive and do things. You see, this needs to be done, just do it. So we have that culture. we've transformed mainly now to the higher end jobs and a belief in ourselves too and our children that we can do all that. So I think, yeah, and then we're looking for the population growth as well. We would have that term brain drain over many generations. A lot of people came to the US, for example. People left and all over the world. And sometimes we might say our best people left, but that would be unfair to those that didn't leave. But a lot of people left and stayed away, and you know, you went to university, set up companies, set families, and those areas prospered on the back of that. For our people, you know, we lost population because of that. That's beginning to reverse now, and with the universities in the area, in Derry and Donegal, and it still needs more support to bring that up to its rightful level. I'm struck very much by Lilian, the Mayor of Derry, about the border, and you have a great way of putting it, that there's no border. Not many people would have been actually strong enough to say that, even though they practice as if there was no border. And then you know, if you can start in that spot, I think it gives you a great start for joining up those things and leaving aside those problems of the past, build on the future. I'll stop for now. I'll hand over to
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so
John?
my name is Stephen Glesson, Director of Business and Culture in Derry and Strabane. So when talking about the future, is really three areas that we touch on. The first one is very obviously our young people. You know, we're very, very focused in the council, in the chamber, on how we need to develop our young people, how we need to stop our young people necessarily leaving and not coming back, providing opportunities locally for them to grow, develop. So that is in the growth of the university, the growth of higher paid jobs, the move to the higher technology jobs, which don't necessarily require physical presence in offices, has been an advantage for a lot of companies who have started to grow and started to attract talent to want to resettle or come back to. So that focus for us all, and how do we make sure our young people are catered for, how they look after in terms of their access to employment, access to skills, and then their access to, outside of that, the leisure facilities where we're sitting. I mean, where we're always been blessed by sitting in Derry and Donegal as some of those beautiful beaches and scenery and so on. How do you commercialise that? How do you make sure that is attractive and it's not somewhere people go on holiday and come back? So that drive to making sure there's workplaces and that placemaking has been a very key focus for us. Growing the university is clearly key within there. Ulster University is expanding, and ATU is growing with the amalgamation with the larger campuses, and that offering is increasing all the time. That is very attractive to our young people. Obviously, we're all aware, you guys will all be aware more than us in terms of student loans, student debt. So the cheaper you can make it closer to home, the easier it is for students to access those courses and remove those barriers. So again, that's very key to us. The Mayor touched on our city deal, and probably for yourselves just to understand what that is the biggest single investment that the government have made into Derry as a city and the wider council area. So they are putting in approximately £210 million in the next 5 to 8 years. We add in an X amount of money, our partners are adding in an X amount of money, we attract private sector investment onto that. Other areas of activity that come in terms of the infrastructure, the growth of the roads, we touched on rail, airport. By the time you add all of that up, we're closer to £1 billion sterling, roughly $1.2 US over the next 8 years. It's going to be spent in the region. That is a huge amount of money, and it's more than ever has been added to the economy of the Northwest. That in itself is transformational. Where we have a gap and where we need to, and back to my first point on our young people, we need to make sure that is understood and socialised by the people that it's going to benefit. It's not really going to benefit me, and it's not really going to benefit a lot of people in the chamber, but the people who are currently sitting in primary school, junior school, heading to secondary school will see a massive difference in their city and their area over the next 10 years. And that in itself is what the future will look like, and that's what will ultimately transform that investment from just pure monetary terms into something that will transform the region.
Thanks very much, John and Stephen. So I'd love to invite the audience now in the few minutes we have left to ask questions of the mayors. I know maybe give the floor for the first question to our students. I know that you all will have lots of questions for the mayors based on what we've heard. No pressure.
question. Specifically, more so for the mayor of Derry, but something that I have seen that has been really disheartening within the most recent election cycle here was the language that was so dehumanizing of immigrants. And as a second generation American, it's just really hard for me to wrap my mind around so many people whose families and lives are so positively impacted by immigration to then turn around and use such dehumanizing, othering language, a very like us versus them mentality. And so I'm curious what tools, talking points, strategies that you have used just in that those one-on-one conversations when you feel like you can kind of start to affect hearts and minds, right? Where it's like more realistic to have those conversations. Like, do you have a way of talking to people who you can see are being persuaded by those kind of dehumanizing ways of thinking about it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Before I got into politics, and it was mentioned earlier, I run an organization, I still do, called the Northwest Migrants Forum. And what we do through that organization is have community dialogue and community engagement. Now, we have the same problems that you have here, the only difference is not at the higher scale that you do. But just in the summer, we had riots in Belfast, which were anti-immigrants riots. We had riots in Dublin in November 2023, which were the same anti-immigrant sentiments. And we've seen a lot of attack. When I was announced as mayor, I had a vile messages sent on social media. But how do you engage with people about that? First of all, I have to understand why they are behaving the way they are behaving, or why they hate immigrants so much more. And my conclusion is that actually they do not hate immigrants. I think people feel left out. People feel because of politicians really scapegoating immigrants because of lack of investment within their own communities, and they are the easy target. So for me, I use more like positive contributions